Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming a April wrap up. I read 13 books, probably DNF'd 3 or so. Most of them were romance, as they always are, but let's get into them. First book is actually a thriller. It is The Business Trip by Jessie Garcia. This book was so intriguing. I've never read anything like it, and I was really confused as to whether or not I liked it or not. This book is about two women who meet on a flight. One is leaving her abusive boyfriend and the other one is going to a work conference. And I thoroughly enjoyed the ending because it was a twist that I didn't see coming. Whenever I read thriller books, I really try to not put on my thinking cap. I like to be surprised, so I was surprised. But one thing that I've never seen in a book is the POV change. I think every single chapter for like at least half of the book was a different person's POV. So there was probably like 10 people's POV, which made for a very interesting read. But also when it first started, I was very confused as to why I'm seeing so many different people's POVs, but then it started to make sense and it really did add to the story. So I ended up enjoying that. The book had so many different POVs, so there was a point in the book where you were seeing the same things happen just for somebody else's point of view. But like I said, I enjoyed the extra twist at the end. Did not see that coming. I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5. Now, I don't know, maybe I would move it up a little, but I'm just gonna leave my ratings where I made them at the time when I finished reading them because they were most fresh in my mind. Next, I read Coming Home by A.R. Williams. And also another thing, I read a lot of new authors this month, which I like because I'm trying to expand my horizons, mostly for genres, but I mean, new authors helps as well. So yes, never read a book by A.R. Williams. Don't know if I will read another one after this one, not going to lie. So this one was like a cute contemporary romance. The FMC grew up on this farm, but she did not own it. Her mother worked as a farmer, and then eventually her daughter started working as one. The owner of the farm ended up passing away, and the owner's son comes back home because he did leave to have this big fancy actor career, I believe. And he comes back and he realizes he doesn't want to sell the farm, and obviously, you know, they fall in love along the way. And I wanted to read a contemporary romance at the time, but I found this one to be boring and the writing style wasn't great. And you know me, I will read a book that doesn't have the best writing style if the vibes are great, but the vibes have to be like 10 out of 10. It has to be the greatest storyline, plot for me to ignore the bad writing. And sometimes even that doesn't help. This one did not have that. And so I didn't like it at all. And the only reason I really finished it was because I think it was like 255 pages. It was really short. And I was like, you know what, let's just push through. And I did. But I felt like I had a lot of repetitive statements. I literally wrote down burst out laughing again. I think I read that statement way too many times. But it was a simple story. I was glad it was short. I ended up giving that one a 2 out of 5. I think that's my lowest rating of the month. The next book I read was another contemporary romance because I really wasn't getting what I needed out of the last one. This one is A Lime to My Coconut by Lynn Joseph. This one had like the cute vacation vibes. The FMC just broke up with her boyfriend because she thought he was going to propose to her. They went out to this fancy dinner and he ended up not doing that. And so she broke up with him. But what he did buy her for her birthday was a vacation. So she took the vacation, told him not to come. And then she ends up meeting a guy while she is at the resort. I really did like the Caribbean references because my parents are from Jamaica. So I really enjoyed some of the references, like the foods. I thought that was like really cute and, you know, made me feel something. I didn't really love like the insta love. There was a high stakes situation that the two main characters ended up in, and through that they were like, oh my gosh, I love so and so, even though they hadn't known each other for that long. And so that part I didn't love, but all around it was like a cute story, nothing too special, but it gave me the contemporary romance vacation vibes that I was looking for, and for that I gave it a 3 out of 5. Oh my gosh. Then I read J.L. Seeger's 2 novellas. Loved. I love her writing style. I need to buy all her books. Like, I've read Revive Me, which is #1 in a 6-book series, so I do need to read the rest of those. And then I read her 2 novellas. The first one is called Again. This one at the time, and I honestly still might stand by that, I said this was the best novella that I've ever read. Because usually novellas, it's kind of hard to really connect with them, and I don't think I've ever rated a novella super high because they're super short. Unless it's like a novella added to a series, it's really hard for me to feel connection to the characters. And I was in there. Page 1, I said, oh, I'm here. So I really enjoyed that. I had the marriage redemption trope, which I really enjoyed that as well because the characters already knew each other. So I feel like that worked perfectly for a novella because it is shorter. And it was a new genre. I don't really read, you know, a lot of romance books where the characters already know each other. Love Jackson and Amina's characters. It did have the miscommunication trope. I hate the miscommunication trope so bad, but because it was a shorter story, the miscommunication trope was also shortened. Therefore, it didn't really hinder the rating. If anything, I wish the story was longer. So for that, I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. Literally, I loved it. I think the only thing that would have made it a 5 out of 5 is if it was an actual full-length novel. The next one is Speak by J.L. Seegers, and this one is a post-divorce novella. So she leaves her husband, and then the MMC in the story is the divorced lawyer. They're meeting each other for the first time through this novella, but it also is a different storyline from the romances that I usually read. So I enjoyed it. These characters, like a little older, have had more life experiences, I guess, in J.L. Seegers stories. I love Xavier, the MMC. I thought he was very thoughtful. He's like very acts of service, which acts of service is my love language. So whenever I see acts of service in romance books, it automatically makes me like them more. I thought the story as a whole was really cute. And again, it was a novella, so shorter. This one, I felt like I liked it as a novella. I wasn't like itching for it to be longer. And so I gave Speak a 4 out of 5. Then I read Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. This one was a thriller. Every time I want to say MMC, I say FMC and vice versa. The female main character was in 8th grade, and her best friend is going missing, and nobody seems to be concerned but her. Nobody cares until the body is found. When I just finished the story, I didn't feel like I was super connected with the characters, and I still do stand true to that, but I did enjoy the extra twist because it was a thriller and I didn't see it coming. Again, I don't try to see the twists and turns when I'm reading thriller books. I will say the first half of the book was a little slow for me, and then it picked up the last 100 pages. Yeah, I had like mixed feelings about it. Gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I've never read anything like it, therefore I did give it like a half a star rating more than I probably would have. Then I read Hate by Tate James. This one is a Why Choose Romance, college romance, and a revenge romance. The FMC was wrongfully accused of a crime. After she's been charged, she's now coming back home to her father's house, and the 3 guys who framed her for the crime are living with her. Honestly, this book left me confused. The story kind of felt incomplete. I feel like the FMC didn't get close to any of the guys romantically, and it is a romance book. I know it's the first one of a series, but I just did not feel the feelings I would normally have after I finish a book is not what I had when I finished this. I would normally feel like, now I know the characters, now I know the storyline. At least in a series, like obviously it's not going to be complete, but I still felt like nothing really happened. And it also left on a cliffhanger. The cliffhanger was attention grabbing enough for me to read book 2, but I think if I read book 2, and I believe I said this before in the reading vlog that I read this in, if I read book 2 and I still feel the same way, I'm going to stop the series, because the way I'm right now is very indifferent. Like I would continue it, and I would need to have very much positive emotions about book 2 to then read book 3. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. It was entertaining. This one I felt like we needed like another 100 pages because what happened? I don't know. Then I read Just Right by Sean. This one is also a Why Choose. This was a Goldilocks retelling. She broke into their house and fell asleep on the couch, and then she wakes up with a gun pointed at her head. So that's fun. This story, I enjoyed it. It was very spicy. I tried to read another story by the same author, and I think it's number 2 in the same series. I don't remember what it's called. And I did, in fact, DNF that book. It wasn't hitting like this one was. I did love Golden's character. Like, she was just so light and just like full of life and very optimistic and happy and quite literally the opposite of me. It was nice to read about somebody like that. But I did feel like the story felt a little incomplete towards the end. Like it just like, I don't know, wrapped up really fast in my opinion. So I gave that one a 3.5 out of 5. It was a good time, but not my favorite. Oh my God. Then I read Reckless by Elsie Silver. Absolutely loved this book so much. This has pregnancy trope in it. This one did it so well, and I don't read pregnancy trope romances that often. Winter and Theo end up meeting at Summer's, like they have a family dinner, so they have mutual family and friends, if that makes sense. And they meet at a dinner, then they end up spending a night together at a hotel, and then she leaves and she never expects to see him again. And then she finds out she's pregnant. And she ends up moving to the Chestnut Springs town because she ended up divorcing her husband. A lot of drama, a lot of tea going on with Winter. I would recommend reading like the whole series so you get the background on all the other characters. But I just loved the grumpy Sunshine. She was grumpy, he was Sunshine. Theo was also acts of service, and we all know how I feel about that. So I loved his character so much. And I think this was honestly my favorite book of the series. It was not even a question. I read all of them, and this was definitely my favorite. I almost teared up like on page like 130, something random, when Theo, I'm not gonna get into it, but loved it. 5-star favorite book in the Chestnut Springs series. Then I read Hopeless by Elsie Silver, 5th and final book of the Chestnut Springs series. I just wanted to wrap it up because I've had these on my TBR for a while. So I said, let me just get through them. And this one is about Beau. Is it Beau or is it Beau? I don't know. He was the one that was in the military. And if you read the other books, you know what happened to him. He has a little bit of PTSD, fake dating, fake fiance trope, because he is really beloved in the town and she is not. And so they figured if they're together, he can help her get a job because she's struggling because nobody wants to hire her because of her last name. And then he wants his family to get off his back because everybody's worried about him after what happened to him. So that's what this book is about, fake fiance. I think this might have been like the second or third fake fiance book I read this month. I love a good thing dating, and they just all happen to be fake fiance. This one honestly was unfortunately my least favorite of the series. I still did like it, but it definitely was, especially after reading Reckless, which was my favorite. This one, it just wasn't hitting the same. You kind of was pissing me off sometimes. I wrote specifically chapter 33. Beau kind of was pissing me off sometimes throughout the story. And I would honestly say my favorite part of this book was ending, where we got the bonus Harvey scenes, which we get at the end of every story. I don't know if it's every story that they have them at the end of, or if it started after book 2 or something. I don't remember. But that was my favorite part of the book. It was a really cute conclusion to the whole series, and I like that part more than anything else in the story, if I'm going to be honest. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. This was, again, my lowest rated book of the series, but I still enjoyed it. And I will be reading her other series. Then we read Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This book put me through the ringer of emotions. Even still, when I talk about it, I'm speechless. I finished this book probably a week ago, and I just could not really see myself reading anything after this book. But this is the third and final book of the Powerless trilogy. So obviously I'm not going to talk too much about it because I don't want to spoil it if you've not read the series at all. What can I say? Themes of the first book were brought back in this book, and I really did enjoy that part of it. This book evoked so many emotions out of me, and for that I have to give it a 5-star. Is this like the best book I've ever read in my life? Actually, I'm not even gonna finish that sentence because I enjoyed this book so much. I was just so emotionally invested into the characters that I don't think I could have given this anything less than a 5-star. If this was like book 1 in the series and I didn't know anything about the people, I probably wouldn't have given it 5-star. I loved book 1 and 2. For that, I had to give this one a 5-star. So if you haven't read the Powerless trilogy by Lauren Roberts, I would definitely recommend it. It is a fantasy romance and has deadly trials in the first one. It's a lot of banter between the FMC and MMC in the first one and throughout the series. And so, yeah, go read it. Then last, I have a Not So Meet Cute. Like I said, I couldn't really read anything after I read Fearless. I think I started 3 books and DNF'd 2 out of the 3. This is the one that I ended up completing, and I almost DNF'd this one as well, but I pushed through. I remember I was on page 167. I was like, I am going to put this book down. And then I proceeded to read the rest of it that same day. So that kind of explains how I feel about this book. It was like a love-hate relationship with this story. I liked the rom-com vibes of it, but at the same time, I kind of did not like it at all. It's very confusing. I thought some parts were a little cringe and a little cliche, but then I also thought other parts were entertaining and funny, and the ending was super unrealistic, or like the whole story was super unrealistic. FMC Lottie, she is going for a run in this rich neighborhood, and then she meets the MMC Huxley, and they ended up sparking a fake dating deal. So this is another fake fiance book. It was just so unrealistic because, you know, who just runs into a millionaire, billionaire on the street? You know, it just doesn't really happen every day. But I kind of loved it for that reason. I ended up giving this book a 3 out of 5 because, again, I did almost DNF it, but I pushed through. Those were all the books I read this month. Another month full of reading. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.